My name is Maor Zagori, and I've spent my life telling stories. During that time, I've crossed paths with those who truly make a difference in this world. Some call them donors, others angels. I simply call them guests. This series delves into the lives of those who choose to give. This is the Philanthropists. A few things about Monette Malewski. First of all, you were born in Switzerland
Yes, I was.
in a labor camp.
Yes, I was.
Okay,
Nobody believes that there were labor camps in Switzerland, but there were
really? I didn't know actually.
hard labor camps
And you immigrated to Canada.
when I was 5.
You're the current chair of Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University.
Yes, I am. And I became the first woman it was 70 years, I became the first woman. They didn't have a woman chair before me, so that's a pretty good one.
A few awards and honors did you get? Honorary fellowship from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
Yeah, and I remember that. I was very touched. And I remember at the time when I got it, I always felt that it was the big philanthropists that got things like that. And at the time, it was the head of the university was Ben Sassoon, and he said to me, "This is the place where we honor the pillars."
Wow.
And so that always stayed with me as being a pillar. And it was very important. So and usually when you go to those ceremonies, most of the people that are honored are really the pillars of the university, which is very, very important.
Including yourself.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the time you were a recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal? What's that?
So it was the Queen's 60th anniversary.
Wow.
And she, all over the world, she gave every country that was part of the Commonwealth medals to give out, but it was the communities that had to pick. Like people from Alberta picked from Alberta, Montreal. And the ironic part is my name was submitted by the military in Quebec.
Wow.
So I go, how did I get named by the military? But I'm very good friends with somebody who was head of the helicopter Air Force in Canada, and his wife, and they had the right to pick community leaders.
Wow.
So he put my name in, and I ended up having a military ceremony when I received the award, which was really quite something.
Well, that's indeed a great honor.
Yeah, it was. It was a great honor.
Wow. You know, you're a Holocaust survivor.
I am.
So that's quite a victory. You know, you didn't just survive; you actually lived, and you have a very successful, rich, and amazing achievements in life.
I owe a lot of that to my parents because I'm a Holocaust survivor. I mean, I'm born at the end of the war, so I was a baby. I'm born in 45, so 3 months later the war ended. But my parents had the Gestapo at their wedding in 43 in Liège, Belgium.
Wow.
And at that point, they recognized that they couldn't stay or they would be taken. And there were no borders that were open at that point, pretty well closed. So them and my uncle climbed the Alps, very much like The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
They climbed the Alps to go to Switzerland, and the Swiss was kept neutral by the Germans on purpose because it was laundering their money, and it was a way of also keeping art that they stole. So it wasn't because the Swiss wanted to stay neutral, it's because Germany needed a place to keep them neutral. So the Swiss ended up making labor camps. So my birth certificate says Lausanne, Switzerland, but I was never born in Lausanne. I was born in a camp near Lausanne.
Yes.
And when my parents came back after the war, they lost everything. My father had just his brother and myself and my older brother. We came back to Belgium and we found a nephew that became like my brother. He was 12 years old at the time. He was hidden by a Catholic family that we knew very well.
Wow.
While his parents were taken on the train.
Chasidei umot olam.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but my father did something very different. My mother tells me I was too long to learn. He locked himself up in a room for 30 days. And he basically left her with me and my brother and my uncle. And when he came out, he said, life is for the living You have to live every day to the maximum you can because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And that's how he taught us to live, and my mother too. So they embraced life rather than not. They embraced it. We knew all the stories, it wasn't hidden from us. But their resilience and their courage to start a whole new life in Canada with nothing. They had no papers because they weren't born in Belgium. They came to Belgium. They weren't citizens of anything.
Yep.
So they came to Canada. Canada wouldn't really let us in, but my father took a picture of the family to the Ministry of Immigration at the time in Winnipeg in the middle of winter. I don't know how that happened. And he showed a beautiful family and said, we'll make good citizens.
Wow.
And they stamped it, and there we were. And
Wow.
we went to Montreal because it was French.
How do you see Hebrew University role in addressing global challenges, for example?
So I think that we have a big impact in the world. We're one of the top 100 universities in the world. We're the top in Israel, according to not Israelis maybe, but in when we look at the Shanghai, when we look at all the listings.
Yes.
It was a school, also a university that was started, most people don't know, by Albert Einstein and Freud and Weizmann and Buber, and they put the first stone in 1918.
Wow.
And the key is that they knew that Germany was not going to be long for them. And so when we couldn't get what we wanted out of the Balfour Agreement, which is a country, the next best thing that Albert Einstein thought was you create a university, because without a university, you won't go far, because education is the key to life. So one of the things that Albert Einstein did too, he created the first Department of Agriculture. Why? Because he wanted to make the desert green and the wetlands forests. So it's a visionary school, and I think globally they always will be, because they have that as their DNA.
I see that pin.
Hmm.
Are you wearing it often?
I wear it all the time.
All the time?
I got it in Israel. I went when I was there in June.
Mhm.
I went obviously to the square, and I visited all of it. And they were selling lots of things, including this pin. So I bought a lot of pins back to give. But they also had a ribbon,
Yeah.
a yellow ribbon that I noticed on the doors of all the cars in Israel. So I was with some friends, and they said, "Why don't you take a yellow ribbon and put it on your car?" Now I live in Montreal, which most probably is one of the most hotbeds today of anti-Semitism in the universities.
Really?
So I looked at them and I said, the pin, I don't care. I'll wear it, whatever they wanted. They won't physically hurt me, because then they'll be taken to prison. They could spit at me, they could say whatever they want, but not going to hurt me. But if I put that yellow ribbon on the handle of my car and I leave my car in downtown Montreal, I will not have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is why I have to wear this pin.
Even now, when after talking to you, I see you don't have any. You're not angry.
So I think that it was written either in a book by the creator of Ways, Levine. He wrote a book and he said, the biggest love you have to have is how to solve the problem, not the solution.
Hmm.
So I think he's totally right, because it's the problem that you're solving, then you'll find the solution. So how do you solve the problem? You don't start the other way. So my head always goes that way. What can I do? While I'm here, I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen.
It was great interviewing you, and you taught me a few things. Even
Thank you.
at
Well, it
the-
was fun sitting with you.
And you're sweet, and thank you so much for everything you do for Israel, for us.
It gives me more, most probably, than, I learn and I get so much from it. So it just makes it natural.
I'm glad. If you want to watch more episodes of The Philanthropists, head over to Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University on YouTube.